Alright guys, right here's something some of you might be familiar with. I know I've had a couple of messages asking about tech tips on this van. This is a 1990 Dodge Ram B250 van that I actually owned once before now. I got it for free off my friend of mine's parents back in 2011, 2012, somewhere around in there. And it had been off the road for some time, and they gave it to me, and I drove this thing home and put about, I don't remember how much money. It was not much money at all, probably $500 or less, including tags and insurance, to put this thing back on the road. And whenever I left to go to boot camp for the Navy, I sold it to another buddy of mine for $450. And he drove it on tour with his band, and I think they drove it something like 3,000 miles, and which just amazed me considering how rough shape it was in. But after I got out of the Navy, I tried to buy it back from him, and he didn't want to sell it. So I just kind of forgot about it for a while, and got a call from him a couple of days ago, and he offered this thing up to me first. I guess he's moving or something, I'm not really sure. And he said that he'd sell it back to me for $200. $200. And I said, I'll be over there later today to get it. And so I went and bought this thing back for 200 whole bucks. And it's not really in any worse shape now than it was when I sold it to him. And it's definitely in not as bad of shape as what it was when I had it the first time around. But I bought this thing, like I said, for 200 bucks. Went over there, I slapped a battery in it and poured about 4 or 5 gallons of gas in it. And this dude started right up. Drove it over here to my other friend's house because he just lives up the road. And so here we are. I'm about to clean this thing up once again, wash it up. As you can see, it's got some moss going on again. Not nearly as bad as what it was when I got it the first time around. This thing still has the same motor, still has the same transmission. It's a throttle body injected 318 with an A518 automatic transmission, overdrive, basically a 727 with an overdrive. Probably not as good of a transmission as a 727, but it's an overdrive nonetheless. I have no clue how many miles this thing actually has on it. The odometer was stuck right there where it is now at 149,525 miles when I got it back in 2011. And I don't know if you can read that or not, but it says next oil change service 147,820, and the mileage and the date is August 11th of 2001. So this thing probably has at least a good 250,000 miles on it now, if not more than that. My friend's dad swore up and down that it has 350,000 miles on it when I got it the first time around. I would say it's had probably at least a good 25,000 or so put on it since then. I doubt that it really has 350,000 miles, but you never know. It does use a little oil, and I think the radiator leaks a little. There's a whole plethora of electronics in this thing that don't work, like the radio, the AC, and I think one of the gauges doesn't work. And a lot of the lights and stuff don't work. When I got it, none of the headlights or tail lights or anything worked in it. I had to fix all that. And I put an old set of used tires on it when I got it that came off from that truck, actually. And they're still on it, and not really in any worse shape than what they were when I put them on there. This thing fires right up still to this day, even after all this time. Currently, up until now, up until I went and bought it a couple of days ago, this thing had been off the road for 3 years. The tags expired on it in 2013. And it's dirty. It's, it's been parked a while. You can see there's a crap in the floor and stuff. Still not as bad as it was when I got it. And I'm just absolutely tickled to death, like a small child, to have this van back. I loved this thing. I mean, it's not particularly nice. Like I said, nothing works in it hardly. But back whenever I had it the first time around, we drove this thing everywhere. And like I said, my friend, after I sold it to him, he drove it on tour with his band, and they drove it like 3,000 or 4,000 miles. Windshield busted and all. But check this out. I don't even know if you guys can even hear it or not. Needs the power steering belt tightened up. Literally, that's the only thing really wrong with this thing at the moment. The brakes are still good on it. Like I said, the motor runs as good as it ever did. You can hear it, it's quiet. But the power steering belt's loose in it. And that's pretty much it. And well, this battery I slapped in here doesn't really, the hood won't shut all the way, but I just slapped it in here temporarily just so I could move it. But pretty much I'm gonna do just like I did the last time. I'm gonna put a very minuscule amount of money in it. I'm gonna slap another old used battery in it that actually fits, and I'm gonna wash it and vacuum it out, put tags and insurance on it, and I'm gonna drive it some. This thing, the only thing I ever had to do to the motor in this thing the whole time I ever had it, it was in there. It's got a little electric idle speed control sensor type job. And that thing was going out when I got this van, and it finally just died one day on me, and I stopped over at AutoZone and laid down like $80 or whatever it was to buy a new one and put on here, and this thing has ran perfect ever since, considering what it is. And that tail light lens is not actually broken out. It is broken, but it's not broken out. It's right here. I took it off because I'm about to do a little bit of a patch on it right there, so there's no white light sticking out. But other than that, this thing is just as good as it ever was, and I am completely happy about that. But that's pretty much all I got. I'll make some more videos of this thing soon and post them up for you guys if you have any questions about it. But there it is, 1990 Dodge Ram.